Thank you, Josh. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Competitive Personal Responsibility Education Program Orientation Webinar. My name is Itij Bailey, and I will be one of your presenters today. I'm also one of the project officers for the Competitive Prep Program. I will be joined by my colleague Sarah Axelson, also a project officer, and Marissa Greminger from RTI International. Marissa is one of our training and technical assistance providers. Throughout today's webinar, you will have an opportunity to ask questions approximately halfway through the webinar and at the end of the webinar. If you have any questions that are specifically related to your grant, we ask that you pose those questions to your assigned project officer. So first, I want to say congratulations on being awarded a competitive prep grant. We are excited about all of your projects and your dedication to serving youth across the nation. During today's webinar, you will receive an overview of the Family and Youth Services Bureau. You'll hear about the purpose and program requirements of the Competitive Prep Program. You'll get a brief overview of the prep performance measures. You will also receive administrative and fiscal information, and you'll hear about some of the resources that are available to you as you're implementing your programs. And of course, we will close out our webinar with a time for question and answers. So this slide provides information about staff that support the Competitive Prep Program. On the management team at the Family and Youth Services Bureau, we have William Bentley, our Associate Commissioner, Debbie Powell, the Deputy Associate Commissioner, Risa Matthew, the Director of the Division of Adolescent Development and Support. And within the Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Program, where the Competitive Prep Program sits, we have Labrita White, our APP Program Manager, Mark Clark, a Senior Program Analyst, Sarah Axelson, a Management Analyst who's joining us as a presenter, myself, Jewel Lynn Tinsley, a Program Specialist, Byron Pugh, a Program Specialist, Jessica Johnson, also a Program Specialist, Julie Grace, our Communication Specialist, and Tracy Doughton, our Program Assistant. Staff within the Office of Grants Management who support the program are Katrina Morgan and Trang Lee. Trang serves as the Grants Management Specialist for all the Competitive Prep grantees. She will hopefully be joining us for part of this webinar and will be able to answer any questions you have related to the grants management aspect of the program. Now I will provide an overview of the Family and Youth Services Bureau. So the Family and Youth Services Bureau, and you'll hear us refer to it as FYSB, is part of the Administration on Children, Youth, and Families within the Administration for Children and Families. The Administration for Children and Families is part of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Within ACF, which is the Administration for Children and Families, there are 6 offices, including the Administration for Children, Youth, and Families. ACF is also comprised of the Administration on Native Americans, the Administration on Developmental Disabilities, the Office of Head Start, the Office of Family Assistance, and the Office of Community Services. There we go. ACYF administers programs that support social services that promote positive growth and development for children, youth, and families. Programs provide protective services and shelter for children. They support adoption for children with special needs. And these programs provide financial assistance to states, community-based organizations, and academic institutions to provide services, carry out research and demonstration activities, and undertake training, technical assistance, and information dissemination. Within ACYF, we have the Family and Youth Services Bureau and the Children's Bureau. The Family and Youth Services Bureau is made up of the Division of Adolescent Development and Support, which is where the Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Program sits, and the Division of Family Violence and Prevention Services. The mission of the Family and Youth Services Bureau is to support the organizations and communities that work every day to put an end to youth homelessness adolescent pregnancy, and domestic violence. There are 6 grant programs within the Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Program. Those grant programs are our State Prep Program, our Competitive Prep Program, our Tribal Prep Program, Prep Innovative Strategies, our State Abstinence Program, and our Competitive Abstinence Program. The funding level for each program is shown on this slide, and there are over 150 grantees across the 6 programs within APP. The State Prep Program administers the PREP program, the Personal Responsibility Education Program, and that program, those grantees are state agencies. Competitive PREP, as you all know, are local organizations also implementing the PREP requirements. Our Tribal PREP program really targets Native American youth with teen pregnancy prevention services and the adulthood preparation subjects, which again are our PREP requirements. And our PREP Innovative Strategies grantees are all evaluating innovative strategies in an effort to fill gaps in research related to evidence-based teen pregnancy prevention programs for vulnerable youth populations. Our State Abstinence Program administers the Title V funding, and that's administered through state agencies. And our Competitive Abstinence Program is local. The grantees are local organizations across the nation also implementing abstinence education. This slide shows the legislative authority for our programs. All of our programs, with the exception of the Competitive Abstinence Program, were authorized through the Affordable Care Act. APP administers approximately $130 million in grant funding to reduce teen pregnancy across the nation and within select U.S. territories. Now I'll turn the presentation over to my colleague, Sarah Axelson. Sarah?
Thank you, Aitish. I actually started experiencing technical difficulties right at that exact moment, so unfortunately I do not have access to slides. Just one second while I pull those back up. Apologies for this technical issue. So Marissa, if you could advance the slides while I go through, since I can't see them, that would work out great. And I can go ahead and get started with the purpose and program requirements. Marissa, can you confirm that?
Yep, I've just advanced the slide for you.
Great, thank you so much.
16 for competitive prep.
Perfect. So the purpose of the competitive prep program is to enable organizations to support personal responsibility education programs that replicate evidence-based effective program models or substantially incorporate elements of effective programs that have been proven on the basis of scientific research to change behavior, which means delaying sexual activity, increasing condom or contraceptive use for sexually active youth, or reducing pregnancy among youth. The purpose of this is already familiar to all of you, given that you've applied and received funding for this program, but we want to ensure that you're familiar with what the intention of the actual program is. Next slide, please. The target populations for the competitive prep program should also be familiar to all of you. They include youth ages 10 to 19, pregnant and parenting teens under the age of 21, youth in foster care and juvenile justice, youth with HIV/AIDS, culturally underrepresented groups such as African American, Hispanic, and Native American youth, rural youth, runaway and homeless youth, youth at risk of being or who have been trafficked, and youth who are high risk or vulnerable for pregnancy. And it is especially important from FISBE's perspective that programs try to target these populations because of the awareness that we have of their increased needs. Next slide, please. The program requirements for the competitive prep program are as follows. Grantees are required to emphasize abstinence and contraception for the prevention of pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections. Competitive prep grantees also must address at least 3 of 6 legislatively mandated adulthood preparation subjects. These include healthy relationships, adolescent development, financial literacy, parent-child communication, educational and career success, and healthy life skills. Competitive prep grantees, as I mentioned before, will replicate effective programs or incorporate elements of effective programs as well. Next slide, please. It's critical that competitive prep grantees ensure that the program materials that they're delivering are medically accurate, age-appropriate, and accessible to LGBTQ youth. Competitive prep grantees will also help youth, promote healthy transitions to adulthood for youth through the use of positive youth development in their programming. Educators in competitive prep programs must be formally trained in the program model by professionals who can provide follow-up technical assistance to those same facilitators, and all of you should have laid out a plan for achieving that in your application. Competitive prep grantees are also required to collect and report on performance measure data, which we will discuss shortly. And lastly, competitive prep grantees are required to have their project fully functioning and serving youth within 120 days following the notice of award. Next slide, please. Fidelity and adaptations is another key component of the competitive prep program. Grantees are strongly encouraged to maintain fidelity to the evidence-based model that they've selected. And for those of you who aren't familiar with this concept, adaptations, which are modifications to an evidence-based program that has been developed for a single demographic, ethnic, linguistic, or other cultural group, should generally be minimal. And we will provide further guidance around the types of adaptations that have been used in the past, as well as guidance referencing how to assess whether or not an adaptation is minimal or appropriate. Significant adaptations may be needed to address mandatory project requirements, so you may be taking on a more significant adaptation in order to ensure that you're fully covering the adulthood preparation subjects, or to ensure that both abstinence and contraception are included for the prevention of pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections as required by the program. But keep in mind, ultimately, adaptations should not alter the core components of the evidence-based program model. In just a little while, we'll discuss the technical assistance that's available through this program, and this is one area where if you need further assistance, we can provide that for you. Next slide, please. Grantees and all their partners, subawardees, and subcontractors should have in place within 30 days of the award policies prohibiting harassment based on race, sexual orientation, gender, gender identity or expression, religion, and national origin. Grantees also will need to ensure that all staff will be trained prior to program implementation on how to prevent and respond to harassment or bullying. And they must have a plan to monitor subawardee claims, address them seriously, and document their corrective action. These are all items that were included in the prep assurances that applicants signed as part of their application package, so this should all be familiar to you as well. Next slide, please. Throughout the upcoming year, FSBE will offer several opportunities for training. Those include both a national conference and topical trainings that grantees will be attending. The National Teen Pregnancy Prevention Conference will take place in the spring or summer of 2016. We're currently finalizing the date and location for that and should be able to send out information that has a more specific date shortly. 2 key staff are required to attend that conference and should already be included in your budget. FSBE will also be hosting topical trainings. The dates, locations, and topics for those are still to be determined, but we do have 3 trainings planned for this year for the 2015-2016 project period. And you should have 2 key staff attend at least 1 training or determine whether you should have staff attend more than 1 training, but you can work with your project officer to make those decisions. Obviously, FSBE sees a lot of benefits to grantees attending these trainings. They are opportunities for you to connect with other grantees who are implementing similar programs, have face-to-face time with your project officers, and learn about things that are going on both within FSBE and in other programs and in the field. So it's really important that you plan ahead in order to meet these requirements. Next slide, please. Site visits may occur periodically with your FSBE project officer. The main objectives for site visits are to assure that the project is in compliance with the terms and conditions and the authorizing legislation, to discuss the project's development and observe the project during implementation, and also to provide programmatic, financial, and evaluative assistance and ascertain whether there are any technical assistance needs. Should you be selected for a site visit, your FSBE project officer will provide you with sufficient advance notice for you to plan accordingly, as well as additional documentation guiding what you should prepare for the site visit itself. Next slide, please. Performance measures were an additional component that was outlined in the competitive prep funding opportunity announcement. Next slide. As a reminder, all grantees are required to collect and report on a common set of performance measures. The primary purpose of the performance measures, or the PMs as we refer to them, is to collect information from all grantees on how PrEP objectives are being met. The information that you submit as part of the performance measures requirements contributes to lessons learned about replicating evidence-based programs. It can be used for program improvement, and it is ultimately reported to Congress as required by PrEP legislation. PMs are not used to measure program effectiveness, but they do provide an excellent opportunity for FISB to provide feedback on your progress and to ascertain technical assistance areas or to help you in the program improvement process. Next slide, please. Here you'll see the performance measures categories that will be measured through the performance measures. These include structure and support for program implementation, participants' characteristics, perceptions of program experiences, and perceptions of program effects, which are measured through the entry and exit surveys, program attendance, reach, and dosage. We will be providing additional details about performance measures. You can access a lot of that information yourself now if you'd like to see it ahead of time via the PrEP Eval website, which is listed on the slide at prepeval.com. However, grantees will also participate in webinar trainings on the 3 categories of performance measures, and we do want to make you aware that the first of those will be November 3rd from 3 to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so please go ahead and note that on your calendars now so that you can be sure to save the date. At this time, I'll be handing it back over to my colleague, Itish Bailey, who will be taking us forward and talking about administrative information for the program. Itish?
Thanks, Sarah. As stated earlier, competitive PrEP is within the Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Program, also known as APP. APP is responsible for the review of all applications and reports, for responding to programmatic and technical aspects of the grant, and also responsible for the overall monitoring of grantees' performance. Oops, sorry about that. Your assigned project officer should be contacted for all programmatic issues related to your competitive PrEP grant. Project officers ensure that grantees are meeting the programmatic requirements of the funding. We review all program modifications, including changes in the scope of the program or in staff and any requested budget revisions. Project officers also review and approve program progress reports and applications for continuation funding. Your project officer may also conduct a site visit to your program, as Sarah stated earlier. Project officers are also an important resource and can assist with getting technical assistance needs met. The Office of Grants Management, which you will hear us refer to as OGM, is responsible for the business and non-programmatic areas of your grant. OGM ensures compliance with applicable laws and regulations and also with the technical aspects of grants and fiscal. Grantees can contact OGM to obtain information about how to request amendments, get clarification on budget issues, also get clarification on the allowability of costs, and to obtain guidance on submitting fiscal reports and other correspondences. The grants policy statement provides general terms and conditions for all HHS discretionary grants and also cooperative agreements. The 4 sections of the grants policy statement are listed here on the slide. Additional information can be found at the website. In December 2013, the Office of Management and Budget published Uniform Administrative Requirements, Cost Principles, and Audit Requirements for Federal Awards in 2 CFR Part 200. The CFR is the Code of Federal Regulations, and it is the official and complete text of agency regulations. HHS's implementation of 2 CFR 200 can be found in 45 CFR Part 75. Payment Management Services is a part of the HHS Program Support Center, and they are responsible for providing the payment and accounting system for all HHS grantees. It is a responsibility of grantees to to request payments and report on disbursements quarterly via federal financial reports. Again, as a reminder, you are required to report quarterly. The due dates and other relevant information can be found on the website listed here or via phone. You can also obtain information from our Office of Grants Management Specialist. Now we'll talk about the performance progress reports and the financial status reports. Grantees are required to submit semi-annual performance progress reports every 6 months for the duration of the competitive prep project. The final progress report is due 90 days after the end of the project period. All reports must be submitted via the Grant Solutions system as a grant note, and they are all due 30 days after the end of each 6-month period. The first report is due April 30th and covers the period between September 30th and March 31st. The second report is due October 31st and covers the period between April 1st and September 29th. There are key program indicators that grantees are required to report on. These are program activities and accomplishments, challenges, significant findings, any organizational issues you might have encountered, and technical assistance and training updates. The Federal Financial Report, known as the SF-425, is also reported semi-annually and due 30 days after the end of each 6-month report, of each 6-month period. The due dates for the SF-425 are the same as the Performance Progress Report. Grantees must include their federal grant award numbers on the SF-425 form. A final SF-425 is due 90 days after the end of the project. Again, this is the same due date as the Performance Progress Report, the final Performance Progress Report. The SF-425 and the PMS, Payment Management System Disbursement Report, for the reporting period must both reconcile. For the period to be considered final, all unliquidated obligations must have been paid and 0 entered on line 10K of the final financial status report. Grantees must also submit a tangible property report, known as an SF-428, and the real property status report, known as the SF-429. Annual reporting of these forms is required. Grant Solutions is a comprehensive grants management system that we utilize for the competitive prep program. Only the authorized officials and project directors for the competitive prep grants have access to make requests and upload documents into the Grant Solutions system. OGM, the Office of Grants Management, ensures that all grantees have access to the system. Any questions about access should be directed to the Grants Management Specialist. The Grant Solutions system allows grantees to have control over the submission of post-award amendments, such as budget revisions, scope changes, and changes in key personnel. Again, any questions that you have about post-award amendments should be directed towards Trang Lee, the Competitive Prep Grants Management Specialist. During the course of your project, grantees may need to make modifications to their budgets. Budget modification requests must include a cover letter describing the rationale for the revision and how it will impact the scope of approved activities. The letter must be signed by the authorized representative of the organization. The budget modification must also include an SF-424A, the budget information form, a line item budget, and a detailed budget narrative. These documents must be uploaded to the Grant Solutions system as an amendment. The system contains instructions on how to request a budget modification, and training manuals and videos are available on the Grant Solutions training website, and that link is right here on this slide. Grantees may find that they need additional time to complete program activities in the final year of the project. This can be done by submitting a no-cost extension. Requests for no-cost extensions are not approved merely for the purpose of using unobligated balances. The grantee must provide an explanation of why activities were not completed within the project period. All requests must be made no less than 45 days prior to the end of the project period and are one-time extensions. The no-cost extension does not authorize additional spending or any new activities beyond the purposes consistent with the grant. Just as with a budget modification, the request must be made through the grant solution system, and all federal financial reports and performance progress reports must be on file. So I'm going to stop here to see if we have any questions.
And I just want to encourage attendees, if they'd like to ask questions via phone, they just need to press *6 to unmute themselves, and then when they're done, press *6 again to mute themselves.
This is Robin Robinson, Future Leaders Outreach Network. I had a question regarding the tangible property report. Is the equipment, is there a purchase price where equipment needs to be listed? Is there a bottom, I guess?
And I believe we're joined by our grants management specialist, Trang Lee.
Yeah.
And Trang, would you like to respond to that
Sure.
question, please? Thank you.
Can you? Yes, this is Trang.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's the SF4248 and 4249 apply to the equipment and supply that the purchase one item has to be over 5,000 or more.
5,000. So it's for equipment.
For like, for example, a copy machine, something purchase one item for a price of 5,000 or more.
5,000 or more. Okay.
Yeah, so you have to complete the SF4248.
28. Okay.
And it does not apply to you. It does not apply to you. And then you need to submit the annual report as well. But you need to put the NA, on the form and upload it to Grant Solution annually.
Upload. Okay.
Thank you, Trang.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I had another one. Robin Robinson again. Under user roles, you said only the AO and the PI and PD. AO, is that administrative officer?
Yes, that's the authorized official.
Authorizing officer.
Authorized official, okay. Okay. It had authorized representative, so I thought AR maybe is somebody different. And then you had a PI and PD. Is that principal investigator?
A project director. Yeah.
Project director, okay. And the PI is the same thing, or?
They all, I think they can use the PD, as they are the same.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And Robin, this is Sarah. Those should be the individuals that are already identified on the SF424 form that you have submitted. So you should already have both the primary contact or the PD and the authorized representative listed on that form.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
And we have a question from Emily Yeats in the chat box. Her question is, for the topical trainings, do two staff need to attend the same training, or can one staff go to one training and another staff go to another training?
This is Sarah. Thanks for that question. We will leave it up to grantees to determine individually how best to use their staff time and funds for those purposes. If you find that once we release the topics and the intended audience for the topical trainings, that it would be most appropriate for two staff to attend one training, that's fine. But if given the topics and the information, it's better for different staff to attend two different trainings, then that's allowable as well. However, the trainings will all include information on how many slots are available, and there often are limits on the maximum number of people that you can send, so you will need to pay attention to that information when registering. And again, all of that will be sent out in detail.
Are there any additional questions? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and continue. So at this time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Marissa Greminger to discuss resources and websites. Again, Marissa is with RTI International, and RTI is a training and technical assistance provider for APP. Marissa?
Thank you, Aitish. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the resources and the websites that are available to you that will help you with your grant. So the Training and Technical Assistance team provides grantees with ongoing support through a variety of modalities. We will be offering webinars throughout the year, and those are designed to be interactive and to serve as an opportunity for grantees to ask experts in the field and to learn about a variety of topics relevant to adolescent pregnancy prevention. You'll also be receiving several tip sheets throughout the year that will cover relevant topics and that provide practicable tips for grantees. E-updates will be sent periodically, and those will cover recent data and trends and research implications that can be integrated into your APP projects. We will be developing an e-learning module, and that's going to be specifically designed around adult learning principles, and that will offer you and your staff the chance to complete a self-paced learning session. We do have the Communities of Practice website, and I will be talking about that a little bit later on in this presentation. And that houses a wealth of resources, including webinars, tip sheets, and other training products that we've produced over the years for APP grantees. Additionally, we offer one-on-one technical assistance to grantees, and I'm going to give more details about that in the next slide. So what is technical assistance? It's well-planned, collaborative process that is targeted to address the specific and unique needs of the TA recipient. So our TA providers adapt their approach and the technical assistance to each of the grantees to ensure that it best meets their needs. TA providers are held accountable for the assistance, and they are dedicated to providing quality assistance, and they all strive to reach the intended results. So we provide technical assistance in a variety of formats. We can communicate via email and phone. We often find that it's necessary and very helpful to hold conference calls with the grantees. In some cases, technical assistance providers will conduct in-person visits. This allows TA providers to get a better understanding of the unique settings and challenges and culture and assets of the grantee. Most commonly, we use phone conversations to provide technical assistance. So what's the process of requesting TA? So first of all, please contact your project officer if you do encounter an issue that seems to be challenging enough that you would like assistance. And so once your project officer has a full understanding of what the issue is, they'll go ahead and contact the TA team through an online system, and it's called TARS. It's just simply short for Technical Assistance Reporting System. And as soon as we receive a technical assistance request, someone from the TA team will be assigned to you as a grantee. We are careful with matching your TA request with specific TA providers that have the most relevant skills and expertise to make sure that we're meeting your needs. So you will then be contacted by a technical assistance provider to schedule a call to talk through your request. And the TA provider and you will develop a plan to address the issue. So this is a collaborative process. It's not the technical assistance provider telling you what to do, but you'll work together. Your project officer will be kept abreast of the plan and the progress throughout the whole TA assistance process. Together, you and the TA provider will carry out the plan, and you'll have regular check-ins. And generally that's via phone, but also via email. And so once the goal or the results have been achieved, the technical assistance request will be closed. And once that TA ticket has been closed, a survey will be sent to you so that you can share your experience and your level of satisfaction with the entire TA process. Good question of when should you request TA? We really encourage grantees to ask for technical assistance as soon as you realize that you have an issue and you would like assistance. Many of the grantees have learned that addressing issues earlier on is much an easier process and more easily resolved. The TA team is here. We want to provide assistance, we want to provide guidance, and we want to work with you, so please do not be shy. So I also mentioned earlier that we have a Communities of Practice website, and this is a very small snapshot. It's a screenshot of the Communities of Practice website, and I'm going to provide a few brief instructions on how to set up a profile on the Communities of Practice website. And I do want to let you know that we have received from FISB all of the primary contacts for your grant, and we are in the process of setting up accounts for you, and you should be receiving notification that your account's been set up shortly. So first you can access the site using that URL that's right there on the page, the prep.rti.org. And then this is where you set up, this is where you log in, I'm sorry. This is not particularly easy to see with the screenshot, but there is a Communities of Practice website, icon on the home page. And so you would just simply click the Communities of Practice icon. So then the next step is where you would set up your own profile. And so this is where you would provide your information on the screen. Oops, I apologize. So then you'll click return, or I'm sorry, you'll just click the Communities of Practice tool again up on the top left of the screen. And this gives you the chance to enter any biographical data. And we encourage you, if you have bio blurbs or if you'd like to put a portion of your resume on there, just anything that would help other grantees get to know you, whatever information you want to share, we encourage you to put it in there. And you can also see, we've got, I'll move forward to the next one, you can post a picture of yourself. It's a great way for you to network with your fellow grantees. All of you are doing competitive prep, and it's always a benefit to know what others are doing in the field, what the successes have been, and the challenges. So this just kind of helps break down that technological barrier that we have when interfacing with computers by offering a photo of ourselves. Makes us a little bit more human. Okay, so how to navigate through the Communities of Practice website. So first, you're going to use the chart over on the left-hand side of the screen. You'll see that they've got different sections in which you can navigate. So if you were to click on the resource library, this is where you would access all of those great resources that I had mentioned previously. For example, webinars that we've conducted, tip sheets that we've distributed, even the conference presentations over the past 4 years are posted up here, and trainings and toolkits, things like that. And you'll see that it's all organized under different categories. So you would just simply click on one of the categories. And so this example here is when someone clicked on the abstinence education category, and you'll see that we've got a variety of resources that are housed under the abstinence education category, including an e-update, a presentation that we conducted, and then at the bottom there's a tool, the systematic method for assessing risk avoidance. So this is where you would be able to find a lot of great information. So you can easily download any of those resources by just simply double-clicking on them. So it's a PDF, and you double-click, and then you're able to get it. And then the recordings, if you just double-click, it'll open up a new browser on your computer, and you'll be able to just sit back and listen and watch the former trainings that we've conducted. So you can also use a search function. And so, for example, if there is a topic that you're particularly interested in, but you're not exactly sure what category it's going to fall under, you can just simply type in that word and then click search, and then the resources affiliated with that search topic will appear for you. So in addition to the great resource library we have, there are other parts of the Communities of Practice website that are very useful and I want to highlight. First, there's the discussion board, and this is where grantees can lead and participate in online discussions with their fellow grantees. And I highly encourage you to participate in that. We also have a calendar, and that posts all of the webinars, in-person trainings, and the annual conference. So if you want to know what's coming up, you would check out that calendar. I do want to note that the dates for the webinars and the trainings are yet to be determined, but we are in the process of scheduling those, and once that's been done, we're going to update the calendar with each of the dates. And as Sarah mentioned, the annual conference is getting scheduled, and as soon as that's been determined, that will also be on the calendar. There's also an excellent resource called the Adolescent Relationship Abuse Toolkit, and this has a plethora of resources that grantees can incorporate and integrate into their programs if they do want to address adolescent relationship abuse. There's also a section on the Communities of Practice website, and that's the Grantee Spotlight section. And that's a really neat place where you can see highlighted stories of success or updates about your fellow FISBE grantees. So if there are others in your organization, we are going to be setting up accounts for everybody for the Communities of Practice website that's considered a primary contact for the grantee, and those names were given to us from FISBE. But if there are others within your organization that you would like access granted for, then you would just simply put in their email address right there where that red circle is, and then click the invite button. That will then send that information to the technical assistance team, and we'll verify with FISBE that an account should be set up, and once we get that verification, that person will receive a notification that an account has been established, and then they'll be able to do the whole process of setting up their profile, etc. I am going to now hand it back over to Sarah. Sarah, I believe you have access now and you can see the slides.
I do. Thank you so much, Marissa. That was a really great oversight of all of the things that we're able to offer our competitive prep grantees, and we are especially excited about the TA component of that. So I do want to reiterate for folks that that is available to you free of cost. It's really something that we want to make sure that folks use. So please be sure to discuss that with your project officer as things come up. So it's a great opportunity. So here on this slide, we have a listing of a couple of pregnancy prevention resources that we just wanted to highlight for you that we thought might be useful. The first is a link to our FISBE APP webpage, and some of our resources, selected resources that are available on the COP site are also on this FISBE APP site. As well, you can see a link to the Community of Practice, which Marissa just discussed. In addition, FISBE supports the National Clearinghouse for Families and Youth, which is run by JBS International, and that provides resources and trainings on teen pregnancy as well as other youth-related topics, including youth homelessness and family violence. There are a lot of great tip sheets and webinars and other resources there on general youth provision of services, so that's a great resource to check out. And then finally, we have the evidence-based TPP training database, which provides information on HHS grantees who have been trained in select evidence-based models. So over the years, we've heard from grantees that they've had difficulty locating folks who are able to provide them training in a particular evidence-based curriculum. So we've created this database as a way for you to access information on what other grantees are trained in specific models, and you can go on and search for a particular model and within a particular distance from where you are and find some other folks who can provide training if you're looking for that. So we really encourage you to check out that website as well. The Teen Pregnancy Prevention Evidence Review page is a page where you can access information about the TPP evidence review, and that's the process that we go through to add evidence-based curricula to the evidence-based list that is on the HHS and OAH website. So if you have interest in the evidence review process or you want to know what goes through that process in order to be added to the list, that's the page that you would look for information there. And then we also want to highlight a few of our federal partners who provide information and resources on teen pregnancy prevention. So that includes the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, as well as the Office of Adolescent Health. And finally, there's a great resource called findyouthInfo.gov, which is, broadly speaking, a huge repository of information on where you can get programs and services for youth. Not specific to TPP, but a really great resource for general youth services. And then this slide has information on more specific grant administration resources that have been mentioned throughout this presentation. So links to the OMB circulars, the Code of Federal Regulations, or the CFR, as well as the Division of Payment Management. And it also has a link to where you can access the standard forms that we've been referencing throughout the presentation. So anything that we said was SF424, for example, or SF428, SF stands for standard form, and all of those are linked there on that bottom resource. And then finally, archived webinars and resources are also available on the website that's listed here. It's a great place to go and access things that you may have missed or things that may not be in the community of practice site, but for APP purposes, we do try to list everything there. And now we're going to open it up again for questions and answers and make sure that we have clarified everything that's on you all's minds today. So if you have a question, as a reminder, I believe it is *6. Marissa, correct me if I'm wrong, to go ahead and open up your phone lines and ask a question. Does anyone have any questions at this time? I'm going to give folks another 30 seconds or so. I do see someone typing in the chat box, so I just want to ensure that that's not a question. But if you'd like to ask a question over the phone in the last couple of seconds, just go ahead and press *6 to unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Jeannie Hayes, Future Leaders Outreach Network.
Hi.
Hi. I have a question about entry of performance measure data. Is there an analytic platform to facilitate entry and transmission of that data? I think the RFP may have referenced a database or a program maybe that was in development.
Sure. You will be submitting your performance measure data through the Community of Practice website. And again, when we provide the webinars that speak to the different categories of performance measures, there will also be guidance and instructions on how to actually go through that submission process. But the platform is the Community of Practice website.
Great. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. There's also a question in the chat box. What is considered a budget modification? If we move any dollars from one category to another, does this require a budget modification request? So all grantees, if you haven't received it already, will be receiving a grant administration guidance document from their project officer. That contains a lot of the specific information that we've talked about today and also a few other items. but it does outline the instances in which a budget modification is requested. And those instances include when you are moving more than 25% of your total budget from one line item, well, more than 25% in general. It also includes when you are moving funds from direct or direct to indirect, or from indirect to direct costs. So either of those categories going back and forth would require a budget modification. Or if there are changes in personnel, and finally, any training costs. So in general, again, it's if you are modifying more than 25% of your total budget, moving from direct to indirect or vice versa, changes in personnel costs, or changes in training costs. There's another question that says, are the requirements for distributing performance measures the same as the last grant cycle? For example, the PM must be provided without alteration. An additional question should not be inserted between the first and last question. So we're going to provide additional information on the performance measures when we do the performance measures webinars, but we do anticipate the requirements around that to be the same. Aidij, would you add anything else with regard to the performance measures?
No, as you stated, Sarah, there will be additional information. There have been some modest changes to the performance measures for those grantees that were in the first cohort of competitive prep. But again, during the set of performance measures webinars, you will receive detailed information about the performance measure requirements.
Thank you. Is there any other questions at this time? There was a notification in the chat box that some of the youth had questions regarding the terminology used for the performance measures. And again, that's something that we will discuss in more detail on the actual performance measures webinar. So we appreciate that feedback, and we'll make sure that we can talk further about that at that time. If anyone else would like to ask a question, they can unmute their line by pressing *6. I think there may be an additional question coming in via the chat box now. There is a question, are the 3 trainings for the year face-to-face or via webinar? The 3 topical trainings for the year, of which you need to attend at least 1, are face-to-face trainings. There will be additional webinar trainings, but the topical trainings are specifically face-to-face. And just awaiting any other questions coming in via the chat box. If anyone else has a question over the phone, feel free to unmute your line and press *6. There was a question about whether or not grantees will have monthly grantee meetings via teleconference. So grantees will be checking in with their project officer on a regular basis via teleconference. Those will be scheduled individually with the project officers in order to ensure that they accommodate everyone's schedule. So it won't be with other grantees, but it will be with your project officer. And I'll do one last call for questions at this time. If there are any questions over the phone or over the chat box, please go ahead and enter them now.
Hi, this is Jeannie Hayes again. I just have a quick question about data security.
Sure.
Will you be, it sounds like almost all of the trainings will be content specific, but will there be any refreshers for security of confidential information, or will that just be worked in?
That is not something that's planned at this time. I would say if you have questions or concerns about that, if you could address that directly with your project officer. It may also be something that we could connect you with the technical assistance provider on. to be able to give you more specific individualized information.
Thank you.
Sure. Are there any other questions at this time? I don't see anything coming in over the chat box or hear anything coming in over the phone. So I'd like to go ahead and thank all of you for participating. FISBE is incredibly excited to be working with you on these projects, and we're thrilled to be able to be moving forward to see the work that you all are going to be able to do with the young people that you're serving. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Marissa Greminger at this time from RTI to close us out for today. Marissa?
Thank you, Sarah. So I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to join us for the webinar today. I also want to take this opportunity to get a little bit of information from you about your training and technical assistance interests and needs. We want to know what it is that you would like to build your capacity in. We developed a very brief evaluation that provides just a handful of questions that you can answer, and this would help us determine what kinds of trainings and webinars that we should develop. I'm going to open up the browser, and the survey will just simply appear on your screen, and it's a very simple process to complete it. And just want to thank you once again for attending today's webinar.